Hi, my name is Chris McAllister. Welcome to the Sight Shift Podcast. If you've ever found yourself in that tense place of leadership where big goals collide with deep conviction, there's an old word for that. It's called wilderness. And when you're in the wilderness, in the uncertainty, you're in a beautiful place because that's where you can find ancient wisdom. For ambitious, faith-driven leaders, I want you to know there's a way forward and you're not a bad leader to be where you are. We're going to help you in this podcast take all of those moments and use them to make culture your edge in your team, in your organization, in your family.
Well, welcome back to the Sight Shift Podcast. Good to be with you again. I'm Mark, he's Chris, and we are in the final episode of the series we've been doing called Lead for Impact. This is the book. You can find it on Amazon. Get yourself a copy. It's a crazy book.
Yeah.
It confronts the current fads, goes back to ancient wisdom. And today, Chris, it's going to be a bit of like, where did we start this journey? And then how do we finish this journey as we've worked our way through the various chapters of the book, the message. We started with this idea that most people lead for validation, not impact. And there's a better way.
There is a better way. To paraphrase a quote from one of my favorite movies, but not get this flagged on YouTube or podcasts, we're here to mess stuff up.
We've been playing with a phrase lately in the work that we do that goes something like this: if you're not, as a leader, if you're not changing lives, what's the point? You want to riff on that for a moment?
Yeah, I mean, that for me is like everything. Part of what we saw in our success just in individual coaching early on was a standard. Every chat is a life transforming moment. There should be no like gradual incremental improvements. And those are fine, right? But when you're in a moment where you need more than that, when you're in a moment when you feel confused, when you need some more direction, the incremental improvement isn't enough. There has to be something more than that. And so that's what we're locking in on through the process of this book. How do you really get a sense of what needs to be done at this moment? And it'll be fun to close that out today.
Yeah, on this impact or validation theme, I went back into my corporate memory data banks. And you've heard me share this story before, but as I was leaving in as best a way as I could manage at the time, communication, preparation, planning, there was an event that brought all of my peers together and the senior leader at the time, and I was a couple weeks away from being done. I'd been with the organization for combined 2 decades. Knew everybody in the room, had a lot of miles on my time there. And it was well known that I was leaving. And part of the reason why I was leaving was because the environment just wasn't conducive to who I wanted to be and where I wanted to go. But we're a couple weeks away from my departure. The word is out. It was clearly known. All of my peers together are together in this meeting, and the senior leaders there. And there was not one acknowledgement that I was headed out the door. Now it would have been great to be gifted and praised, and that would have just stroked an insecure ego at the time. But it wouldn't have been really hard to say, Mark, thank you for your commitment to the organization and what you've done, and we wish you the best. Like, how hard is that to do?
What a fail.
And there was nothing. There was nothing. Because that leader was all about validation, not about impact. And guess what? The culture was about validation and not impact. And even though there were some good people that I worked with and for in that organization, the culture ultimately is what pushed me out the door. There's got to be more. There's got to be better. And so in that moment, like that was what? 10 years ago now, almost 9 years ago, as of this recording. and it still feels fresh. It still feels like that wound isn't fully scabbed over yet. And I can feel myself wanting to go towards some bitterness or anger. But what a missed opportunity
To change lives.
to change lives. Exactly.
That could have been a benchmark, powerful experience for you. Not that you would have to index on it to make all of that your validation. But we hear this in working with leaders. We can be in the mix with leaders who are facing great pressures and challenges, and they're going back to some of these moments when, I did this thing and my dad didn't even make a comment on it.
You've never heard that before, have you?
Yeah. And this is so universal. I don't think you've heard it from me before. I don't think I've referenced on the podcast series. I think one of the greatest parables of insecure leadership, dramatically done powerfully, is the show Succession on HBO. Not safe for work. But all that to say, they actually have moments in the narrative where they are going to their dad thinking, Dad will finally give me something here. And there's one really pressing moment where the son saves the company, and the dad's recovering from, I think it was a stroke or something, and he's getting his speech back, and he's mumbling his words, and you can't hear what he's saying, and then he finally gets it out. You're a blank idiot. It's just like, it's so universal. And so here you have a powerful story that so many know and have experienced when that contribution isn't witnessed.
Yeah. It takes me to a statement that you make in the last chapter, or the second to last chapter, that essentially we're not developing leaders. We're producing serviceable managers.
That's the thing. That you're insecure as a leader when you're just like, I just wish they would get the job done. And you're focused on their doing more than their becoming. We're working in a context with a leader who's stepping out, succession style, right? And he's handing over serious responsibility to his team that he's been at the helm of, tens of billions of dollars. And I was like, you need to write everybody a note on that team, and you need to praise a thing you've seen them grow in, and you need to challenge them to the next horizon of who they can become.
Who does that?
And he was like, he loved the template, but I was like, if you write this note, it will stay in their keepsakes folder the rest of their lives. This is how you run through the tape. You don't run through, you need to have the stage moment. And we worked with him on that, but you need to run through the tape interpersonally and close this off so well. It's not about you. It's about who they're becoming.
Yeah.
And if they have this from you, you are really leading for impact, not your own validation.
Back to what's the point if you're not changing lives?
Bingo. That's it.
Yeah. The way you tease this out in the chapter, I like the satisfaction isn't only or just in the achievement. It's not in the accomplishment. It's in the becoming. As you become who you can be as a leader, as well as developing others to become who they can be as individuals and as leaders, that's where the true satisfaction lies in this journey.
That's it. And we're going to stay alive. We're going to make sure the mission happens, but how are we going to get it done? It's not through a greater intensity. It's a vision of who we're becoming as an organization and who we're becoming as individuals.
Yeah.
And that's a process that most people can't stand or stomach the uncertainty of it. They can't sit in the confusion of it. And it's just like, I got to get it now. We got to get it done. And then you're skipping over who the people are becoming.
Yeah. The way in sorry, I'm mumbling here. The key foundational coaching program that we have here, Figure That Shift Out. Early on in that journey, there's this invitation to discover who you are by discovering who you're not. And I think part of the the provocative nature of this book is to say what leadership isn't in the process of defining what leadership is. And so you list a handful of things in the book, particularly in this chapter. It's not being the most productive or the most liked. That isn't leadership. It's not being the most disciplined or the most innovative. That's not all of leadership or only what leadership is. It's not the most educated or the most successful. All these things are things that we think get us to that leadership quality of ideal or good. And they're components along the way that matter, but that's not the sum total of good leadership.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sadly, because, and we've used this phrase throughout, we've defined that as the end point.
Yeah.
You get what you aim for.
Yeah.
So if you're aiming for that, you're at best going to hit that, at worst going to fall short of it, but it's not really making leaders. It's not developing leaders because, at some point, a leadership transformation is for you to understand it's not what I get done, it's what the team gets done. And I think so few teams, at least in my observation, and at one point I put in our data to a CRM thing, like how many companies are we touching? And at the time, and this was years ago, it was like 300 and something companies. So we know it's more than that now. Very, 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 very few people are a part of a high-performing team. It's just a group of high-performing individuals at best. So it's hard to believe in an experience you've never had. And so if you've never been in a place that you've tasted and touched and seen this reality, then it does feel far off. It's hard to appreciate it and understand it. But it is the standard. And if we put ourselves or hold ourselves to a standard lower than this, then we're going to accept something that is so short of what's possible.
I think intuitively we know that winning at all costs is not healthy.
Yeah.
It's not ideal.
Yeah.
That knowledge may not always prevent us from running running the race that way.
Yeah.
But I think we intuitively know winning at all costs is not healthy. I think we also know that winning is important.
Yeah.
and we're not just to sit on the sideline as spectators. So I think what we're inviting you into in this whole conversation about impact over validation is a blending of pursuing those results, but not getting so caught up in the results that people become tools or people become stepping stones. Just that intuitive nature that you can tap into. That's like there's a better way here. There's a better way.
Yeah, it all goes back to pickleball. Poor Mark.
Today, anyway, the latest thing.
I mean, it's been so fun to discover pickleball as a family lately and be like, I want to win every game. I want to win every game.
Shocker.
And at the same time, the pathway to win is not for my other player, be it my wife or my daughter, one of my daughters, to be like, look, like what the heck happened there? Why didn't you get that shot? Yep. Instead, it's like, hey, that was really great.
Yep.
That was probably going to go out. So if you feel like you're having to backhand on something out, I'm behind you and I got that shot, And it's a different interaction. Oh shoot, we could do a pickleball series, which would not be fun for people to listen to.
Pickleball, but whether it's pickleball or tennis or cards or fill in the blank,
it's
right?
the same.
It's the same because people are the same. So if leadership isn't the most success, the most education, the most innovation, fill in the blank. If it's not that, what is it? Well, we're not leaving you hanging here. We're answering the question. It's this formula, this ancient wisdom formula that says impact equals the right action and the right motive. So we're going back to the beginning, right? And coming back to this phrase, to this formula, impact equals right action, right motive.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we were playing yesterday and my wife was like, we should have music out here while we play. Her wiring is such that it's the context, it's the relational environment. And of course I appreciate all that, but I want to get a great workout and I want to win. And so when I'm leading for validation, I'm not impacting because I'm overvaluing certain things and undervaluing others. And what a lot of leaders don't realize is they're putting out a signal out of their insecurities, and they're drawing in people just like them that over and undervalue certain things.
Yep.
And so then we don't really have an environment of impact, which is a balance of values. We have these values in check, and we're not over and undervaluing things. How does that happen? Because we take the right action with the right motive.
Yep.
And the right action for me sometimes is to dial down that intensity so that the other experiences for what we're having on this team as an organization or on the pickleball court, it's a whole experience for everyone, you know? And when I'm pursuing that action, even if it's right, but my motive is insecure and I want to prove that I can be a CEO at a level of 100 million. You know, I mean, I hear that all the time. It's like, well, I know I can do 30 million, but can I do 100 million? I know I can do 100 million. Can I do a billion? When that's the motive, that I have to prove that I belong in this group of people and that I've got what it takes, the insecurity that's going to happen in your greatest moments of pressure, right? It's not when there's a smooth volley and you're hitting it back and forth. It's when the shot is missed and you're most angry.
Yeah.
That's when that insecurity shows up. That's when that wrong action is going to happen, at least, but for sure that wrong motive.
Yeah. Yeah. Motive is the key. So pull this back, pull another layer back. If we were to define what a successful leader looks like, who a successful leader is, I think you would say there's a very simple way to think about it. Not easy, for sure, but a simple way to think about it.
Yeah, and I'd like to frame negative and the positive. So the negative, when you're failing at leadership, you don't know who you are. You're in a moment of disillusionment, great confusion, great uncertainty. And because you really don't know who you are, you don't know what you need to do next. And in not knowing who you are and in not knowing what you need to do, you don't take the right action to build the community or the culture in a healthy way.
Yeah.
When you, on the flip side, the positive, know who you are, even in the moments of great pressure, and you know what to do, it translates into action for how you build healthy culture and healthy community. And the challenge here is this: if you ask most leaders, and I've spent years asking this question, what makes a great leader? The default response people have is to answer that based on what they temperamentally value most. So that's where we get into this over and undervalue. So a leader that really values data and analysis and reason and taking their time and paying attention to concerns says, well, a great leader does these things.
I think you were just describing me, by the way.
This is why we make a great team, yin yang. A leader that values quick, intuitive decision-making, that values looking at the strategy of it all and finding a way to cut through the noise with the most resonant, clear signal. A leader that values getting in with people and mixing it up and fumbling their way into clarity, which might be a little bit of me. All these things I just described.
Some stuff up.
I'm going to temperamentally, without awareness, value a certain style of leadership. And it's why teams get so out of balance, and it's why they can't address the concern. It's why they never get to these high-performing places, because they don't have a template, a timeless template for how to build leaders. And you know it when you see it. It doesn't have anything to do with whether they index more on data or intuition. All the classic ways personality tests break things down now. Do they value more on what needs to be conserved or progressed? All of those things matter. All those things are great awareness points, but they're not enough because they're not giving you a model for, in a template way, how to build leaders over and over and over and over again. And that's what for me is like, I mean, I hear this from people that get a sense of meaning in training and developing leaders. Okay, well, how many leaders have you trained and built this year? I don't know. I mean, like 2 or 3, or that number's so far short of what it should be. I mean, there's no reason you're not building 30, 40, 50 leaders a year in transformative ways when you know this template. So we're trying to close the chapter to create a way to give them something compelling to go on in their journey of leadership beyond what we took them through in the book.
Yeah. If not that, then what? And it is secure identity, overflows to a clear understanding of mission and purpose. And the way I like to say it is so that you can attract and build healthy community. You said this a while back, and it really stuck with me. The whole point of the self-awareness, you said it a little differently, but the self-awareness and the self-growth and the journey that you take yourself through as an individual and as a leader, the whole point is so that you can bring that transformation to others in the form of healthy relationships. Healthy community is how we describe it. If it just stays with you, then it's wasted potential. The whole point is, how do you say it? The point of a transformed identity is transformed community.
That's it. If it stops with you, it's like, those you picture like a landscape of a farm or a ranch. Would you rather have a pond with pond scum developing that you got to keep fighting? We need this reservoir of water, but I'd much rather it be fed by a clean spring into this beautiful pond that is then flowing into other ways that it feeds parts of that ranch, and then even beyond that specific ranch. So there's a flow through. And what's happened for a lot of leaders is that flow through isn't continuous and dynamic and expansive. They are still living far too long off of a couple of moments of insight that they've had along the way, and that becomes everything. And so then, to the carpenter, every nail needs a hammer.
Right.
So then every situation becomes a situation that has a nail and requires a hammer, even if it is a screw that needs a Phillips head. They don't have a modality. They don't have a tool belt in their leadership to bring what's needed, because they don't have any fresh insight. That's that stuck place that leaders get into so easily.
Yeah. Well, lead for impact. Why mindfulness, empathy, and psychological safety don't make great leaders, and a template for how great leaders can be made. As we wrap up this series and this episode, anything on your heart or mind to just finish with and put a bow on?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to like wasting time. I mean, this is what would provoke and challenge me. If I was where what we see a lot of organizations at, if I was where they are at, I would be so angry also. I would also need to turn to things to numb out. Misusing alcohol, misusing whatever, all the different things, the clear vices, right? And even the unclear ones, booking myself too tight, not knowing how to enjoy my family. I would turn to all those things also if I made the standard as an HR leader. We just got to teach our leaders to be more mindful. So they know who they are apart from their circumstances. Do they know how to dynamically upgrade their mindset to transform the circumstance? Oh, if we could just make our leaders more empathetic. So they know how to use emotions as a bid for sympathy, but do they know how to use them as clues and signals for learning? If we could just help them be psychologically safe. So we create an environment where they're not going to be threatened as they speak up, but do they know how to fail in public with the team and learn and get better? I would feel like as an HR leader, I'm wasting my time if I make that the standard. And I would feel like a double failure as a leader if I outsourced leadership development in a way that I acquiesced it to HR and said, that's your department. I'm just leading this team. No, it starts with you as the leader. And if you're in a place that you've set these standards and you've said, these are what I care about, empathy, mindfulness, and psychological safety, you just need to know you are a victim of the narrative of these times. And as much as you may want to say you're not a victim, you have a victim mindset. And that victim mindset is causing you to think you're doing so much great work. But here's what I can tell you. If you step out of that organization today, it's all wasted that fast. because there's not real transformation of people.
Yeah.
And that's why we're passionate about this.
Yeah. Leaders developing leaders. Well, thank you for being on this journey with us through this series. This is an example of what we have on offer with the podcast. There are other conversations that are happening, being published. And by the way, sneak peek, there's another book coming around culture. So you and I will be back together doing another series on that book here in the very near future. So thank you for journeying with us. There's always more at our main website, siteshift.com, SIGHT. Get that site right, siteshift.com. And Chris, thank you. As always, fun conversations. It's fun to be in the seat and on the mic with you, talking this stuff. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you again next time.
Peace.
Thanks so much for being with us on the Sight Shift podcast. I hope in some way we've encouraged you to face, lean into, and become aware of the moments that represent so much transformation possibility. If you want more, you can always go to SightShift, SIGHT, shift.com, and learn to make culture your edge.